Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin this morning with the latest headlines. Prime Minister pitches for coexistence of development and environmental safety as India looks to shake off the tag of being one of the world's most polluted countries. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley promises reasonable compliance rules on black money, says a legitimate tax demand cannot be considered tax terrorism. More than 3,000 Indian nationals evacuated from Yemen. 26 countries ask India for help to evacuate their nationals. All-round praise for Operation Rahat. Congress plans farmers' rally in Delhi to protest against the land bill. Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi expected to attend amid debate on his likely elevation as president. And Kenya bombs Al-Shabaab bases in Somalia in retaliation for the bloody massacre of university students on Friday. Top focus on Bulletin this morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made an aggressive pitch for development coexisting with the environment, with India having the not-so-flattering distinction of being the most polluted country in the world. The Prime Minister on Monday blamed the economic development that has brought these lifestyle changes. He said that this while rolling out a new air quality index to 10 cities. Here's more.
A ranking of 174 out of 178 countries for air quality. 2014's most polluted city on earth as the national capital. Distinction of having 13 of the 20 most polluted cities in this world. These are tags that India has to live with on a daily basis. Not the best of distinctions, but something that we all need to sit up and take notice of. As the quality of air in our cities deteriorates and becomes an increasing health hazard, the government seems to have finally sat up and decided to do something about it. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched a new air quality index for 10 cities across the country on Monday.
हम कार्बन एमिशन को रोकने के लिए जो सारे नीति नियम बना रहे हैं, विश्व के अंदर एक बंधनों की दिशा में हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, लेकिन हम कोई अपनी लाइफस्टाइल बदलने के लिए तैयार नहीं है.
Prime Minister Modi believes that changing lifestyles spurred by economic development are to blame for rising pollution levels. He has urged Indians to cut down on waste and conserve resources even as they become wealthier, in case we want to avoid an environmental catastrophe.
अच्छा, कुछ लोगों ने मान लिया कि पर्यावरण की रक्षा और विकास दोनों कोई आमने सामने है. ये सोच मूलभूत गलत है. दोनों को साथ साथ चलाया जा सकता है, दोनों को साथ साथ आगे बढ़ाया जा सकता है. कुछ डूज एंड डोंट्स होते हैं, इसका पालन होना चाहिए.
Modi also urged all Indians to set an example when it came to protecting the environment.
शोषण ये हमारी प्रवृत्ति नहीं है और इसलिए विश्व इस संकट से जो गुजर रहा है, मैं अभी भी मानता हूं कि दुनिया को इस क्षेत्र में बचाने के लिए नेतृत्व भारत ने करना चाहिए.
Millions die due to air pollution every year. In India, the number stands at over 6,20,000 people. Much of the air pollution in the country comes from coal-fired power plants, crop burning, domestic cooking with firewood or cow dung, and diesel-run vehicles. Black carbon, which constitutes most of the tiny particulate matter known as PM 2.5, is also blamed for up to 20% of global warming. A WHO study says Delhi has an annual average of 153 micrograms of PM 2.5 per cubic meter, a highly dangerous air to breathe in. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Joining me for a chat this morning is the assistant editor of the Hindustan Times, Chetan Chauhan. Thank you so much, Chetan, for joining me on the program. Good morning. You know, the rising levels of air pollution are truly alarming, but has India waited for too long to take any kind of remedial steps?
I think pollution or environmental protection has not been a priority for governments in India for a long time. If you see after 80s and 90s, after economic development, there was a huge increase in pollution in cities. It was then also the Supreme Court and different courts which took initiative and pushed the governments to take harsh measures. CNG was introduced, diesel from commercial vehicles were phased out, public transport on CNG was introduced. But that was a different phase because that most of the pollution was gaseous pollution. Improving the fuel quality, switching the fuel helped a lot. But now it is dust, it's particulate matter, in which a multi-pronged strategy has to be adopted in different parts of this country and in different cities. Like in Delhi, it has to be an NCR approach. It cannot be a Delhi approach only, which can improve air quality. So I think the governments in the last few years, even though the alert came in 2006, 2007, that the Delhi's air pollution is rising abnormally high, the governments failed to take much action. And now also the NGT has issued an order which has resulted in some sort of an action. But the government appears to be reluctant. The political will doesn't seem to be there to take some harsh action to improve the quality of air, and which virtually means improving the quality of health of people living in cities like Delhi.
Indeed. You know, as far as the air quality index is concerned, the Prime Minister launched India's first air quality index. Now, is that going to change anything, or are things going to be the same after that?
Air quality index is a good initiative. It's a global concept of informing people what the quality of air is in your city or town. But important is related activities linked with air quality index, like in China, in US. Whenever the air quality index says the quality of air is going to be bad or severe, their action with the state governments, with the local authorities take, which include closing down of industries, restriction of vehicles, advisories to people that if in case they face some sort of a breathing problem, which are the hospitals, health centers they can visit, their emergency numbers also. Air quality index in Delhi intensities have been announced, but the related activities are not there. There is no action plan on shutting down industries, on imposing restriction on vehicles in residential areas if there is higher pollution. Like in China or US, when whatever is bad or severe, it's normally in Delhi around the year. So the parameters are also such that our quality is much higher than the WHO standard. WHO standard is average 10 micrograms in cubic meter of air for year. In India, it is 40 or 50. So it's 5 times of the WHO standard. So our standard is also very high as compared to WHO. Therefore, if you go by WHO standard, we will remain polluted much ahead the safety standard around the year.
You know, what needs to be done as an immediate corrective measure so as to ensure that our cities become more livable in?
First and foremost in Delhi, it should be that the government should come with a dust management plan. Dust is the biggest source of particulate matter pollution, even PM 2.5, even PM 1. And then we should look at entry of vehicles coming to Delhi. A large number of vehicles are coming to Delhi by passing through Delhi. We should not be allowed. Third is that the two expressways, Eastern and Western Expressway, which can provide vehicles entering from Delhi, should be expedited, and there should be a deadline of 1 year or 6 months to complete them. Thirdly, you have to impose restriction on movement of vehicles within Delhi. The diesel vehicles, the NGT has ordered more than 10 years, they shouldn't be banned. There should be restrictions on diesel vehicles within Delhi. And in congested areas, in places which doesn't have sufficient parking, there should be high tag for parking. Public transport should be encouraged. You have to have a feeder system, last mile linkage for public transport. The person, if he wants to take a public transport, the comfort level in the public transport should be slightly less than a personal vehicle. And it should not be so bad that it takes a lot of time, energy to take a public transport. So public transport should become viable. Cycling in winter months in Delhi, in cities should be encouraged. Short distances people can cover with cycles. And pedestrian footpaths in cities, it should be there. Except New Delhi. Most of the Delhi doesn't have pedestrian path. It is either encroached or it doesn't have. You need to have a pedestrian walkways. City becomes livable. You know, best cities in the world have more space for pedestrians, cycles than for motor vehicles.
You know, and that's the similar problem persists with other big cities in India as well. It's just not limited to New Delhi, and that's a major problem that needs to be looked at immediately. But do you see anything changing in the near future, or do you see this problem persisting for years to come now?
I do. First, your other cities, if you see Delhi, Chandni Chowk in 2009-10 was the most polluted locality in India. In 2012, Chandni Chowk was third. Gwalior was the highest. If you see the air pollution rising in India, the smaller cities, smaller towns, which doesn't have any sort of a governance model on transport, public transport, air pollution is rising at much faster pace than in cities like Delhi and Bombay. But on action on air pollution, the government have taken initiatives. But I don't think that people can expect things to change over 1 month or 2 months. It will take some time.
Indeed.
It will take some time. But I think that the government, the political will has to be there. The Delhi government, central government, the NCR, cities like Bombay, cities like Kanpur, Lucknow, Amritsar, they will have to take a concerted action to reduce air pollution.
Indeed. All right. Chetan, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning and putting things into perspective for us. Remains to be seen what steps the government takes to ensure that our cities become more livable in. Moving on now, unseasonal rains in the past few weeks could trigger price rise of vegetables in coming months. According to a report by Associam, the rains could bring down Rabi crops harvest by around 30%. Farmers in different parts of the country have been hit hard by loss of crops. A high-level central team is to visit Uttar Pradesh today to assess the damage. Here's a report.
Unseasonal rain and hailstorms across the country are taking a toll on Rabi crop. Massive crop loss has been reported from different parts of the country that would heavily impact harvest this season. Untimely rains have taken a toll on main Rabi crops such as wheat, oilseeds, pulses and vegetables and fruits. According to a report by Associam, the overall damage to Rabi crops is pegged around 30% this year. India has already been forced to import the highest amount of wheat in the last 5 years to tackle the crisis. What's worse, the prices of vegetables could go up following this loss. Vegetables like tomatoes, cauliflower and coriander have been the worst affected. Horticulture crops such as mangoes, bananas and grapes have also been affected, and the impact could be seen in their prices. The unseasonal rains have also adversely affected the farmers. At least 40 farmers have committed suicide in Uttar Pradesh alone after rains damaged their crop. They have demanded compensation from the government.
पापा खेत पे गए थे और गेहूं बो रखे थे। 10 बीघे में एक थे और 5 बीघे में अपने थे। 10 बीघे में ठेके में थे और 5 बीघे में अपने थे। और बरसात से जो है कोहरा पड़ने की वजह से बेकार हो गया पूरा खेत।
लगातार बारिश और इसी जिम्मेदारी के ऊपर हमारा जो जिम्मेदारों का दारोमदार था और कुछ फसलें जो हमारी नदी से मतलब नालों से बह चुकी हैं। सरकार से ये रिक्वेस्ट है कि हमारे जो जिम्मेदार लोग हैं उनको ही फसलों का मुआवजा या इनको कुछ ना कुछ मौके पर आके देख कर इनके हालात का जायजा लिया जाए।
Meanwhile, mango output has also suffered due to rains in Haldwani. Over 10 million hectares of crops were reported damaged due to heavy rains there. In Uttar Pradesh, almost 30% of the mango crop has been damaged, which could hit India's exports. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, we'll slip into a short break here. Still to come, India Inc. has pitched for further rate cut for the RBI's bi-monthly policy review to be announced today. That and much more coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, nearly 3,300 out of 4,000 Indians in Yemen have been pulled out of the war-torn country. Over 1,000 were evacuated on Monday, with nearly 500 people airlifted from Sana'a. Efforts continue to move out the people remaining there, as at least 26 other countries have asked India for help to pull out their citizens.
1,052 Indians evacuated from Yemen amid no let-up in heavy fighting on Monday. This included 574 from the Yemeni capital Sana'a on 3 Air India flights and 479 from Al Hodeidah on board the Indian naval ship Mumbai. Over 2,500 Indians have already reached home, another achievement for Operation Rahat that has worked against huge odds.
The situation in Yemen is, especially southern part, is becoming slightly worse. That is why we have had more fighting in Aden. And that is why one of our ships could not dock at that time. And we had to move people by smaller boats. As of now, we have taken out approximately about 2,500 people. After today's movement, especially with the ship, I expect about 3,000 plus people would have already reached home.
The success reflects in India receiving requests from 26 countries including the US, France, Germany, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh to help evacuate their citizens from strife-torn Yemen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar praised the efforts undertaken by the Indian forces amid heavy bombing in Yemen. The Prime Minister also heaped praise on his ministers Sushma Swaraj and VK Singh for their coordination to execute the rescue mission without any casualty.
They have been doing very good job. I think by now almost 3,000 people have been evacuated, and by today evening I think almost all Indians, including some other foreigners also who were in desperate condition, have been shifted without single injury, single loss of life.
Meanwhile, the ground situation in Yemen remains grim as fighting intensified in Sana'a and Aden. Heavy clashes between Houthi rebels and pro-government forces left dozens killed. 140 have been killed in the last 24 hours alone. The Saudi-led coalition is planning to cut off supplies to the rebels to wrest control over Aden.
تنسيق عمليات الإجلاء والأعمال الإغاثة. أحب أشكر الإخوان في الصليب الأحمر اليوم التزام بالموعد. تم اليوم تنسيق رحلة للصليب الأحمر.
The International Committee for the Red Cross has been granted approval to start sending aid to Yemen. Agencies foresee a humanitarian disaster. With thousands of people without food and water for days now, humanitarian relief has hardly reached the war-torn nation after 10 days of offensive by Saudi-led airstrikes. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
The Congress party has reached a decision to hold a mega rally in Delhi this month to protest against the proposed land bill. Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi is expected to attend this rally, ending over a month of hiatus from political activity. The issue of his elevation to the post of party president once again took the centre stage during the meeting on Monday.
Accusing the NDA government of working against the interest of farmers, Congress has decided to put up a show of strength in the national capital on 19th April. Senior party leaders finalized the plans for the rally on Monday. The party has been actively protesting against the proposed land acquisition bill since the centre moved it in parliament. The rally will also see party Vice President Rahul Gandhi making a public appearance after a month-long leave.
19 अप्रैल 2015 को रामलीला मैदान में कांग्रेस की विशाल किसान खेत मजदूर रैली होने वाली है, जिसे सोनिया जी व अन्य वरिष्ठ नेता संबोधित करेंगे.
Meanwhile, the issue of Rahul's elevation to the post of party president has once again taken centre stage. Some leaders expressed the view that Sonia Gandhi should continue to lead the party.
I believe very sincerely and very honestly that Mrs. Gandhi is the only and our best leader, most capable of leading the party, and brought us to power in 2004.
We need both the president and the vice president. But we know that Sonia Gandhi, through her own leadership qualities, brought the Congress back to power in 2004.
Amid speculation of Rahul Gandhi replacing his mother as the party president, the process of organizational elections within the party has been put in motion. The process will come to an end by August this year. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan will announce the first bi-monthly monetary policy statement for 2015-16 today. Despite a strong industry pitch for a further rate cut to boost economy, the Reserve Bank is expected to leave the repo rate unchanged due to increased food prices after unseasonal rains in various parts of the country. However, it may indicate a rate cut in the future after some improvement on the price front. The RBI has cut interest rate twice since January and is unlikely to further reduce it this time around. The monetary policy report for April 2015 will also be released along with the monetary policy statement. Well, let's take a look now at some other news-making events lined up for the day today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Goa police will quiz two top officials of Fab India in connection with the voyeurism case filed against the outlet staff. State Crime Branch has issued summons to Fab India's Chief Executive Officer Subrata Datta and Managing Director William Bissell asking them to remain present for the investigation. HRD Minister Smriti Irani had alleged that the store had a CCTV camera focusing at the trial room. Prince Karim Aga Khan, who is on a visit to India, will meet Vice President Hamid Ansari and Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. He will also visit Humayun's tomb, where Union Minister of Culture Mahesh Sharma will lay the foundation of the country's first sunken museum. A national conference on agriculture for Kharif campaign 2015 will be held at the National Agriculture Science Centre in New Delhi today. The conference is organized to review production performance of Rabi crops, assess status of preparedness of states for Kharif crops. Unseasonal rains have caused a lot of damage to Kharif crop this time. Dissident Aam Aadmi Party leader Yogendra Yadav will meet AAP volunteers in Chandigarh today to muster support among the volunteers ahead of a crucial convention of rebel AAP leaders on April 14. Sources say 1,400 people had confirmed their participation for the dialogue. A similar meeting will be held in Lucknow on April 9. Moving on to some international news now. Days after the Kenya University massacre by Al-Shabaab militants, Kenya has hit back. Kenyan fighter jets bombed Al-Shabaab positions in neighboring Somalia. The warplanes reportedly targeted 2 camps in the Gero region used by Al-Shabaab to cross into Kenya. This is Kenya's first response to the Al-Shabaab assault, which left 148 people dead at Garissa University last week. President Uhuru Kenyatta had vowed to respond to the attack in the severest way possible. The attack on Garissa University, about 150 kilometers from the Somali border, was the deadliest by Al-Shabaab in Kenya.
300 kilometers into Somalia.
Well, for more international news and updates, here's our World Wrap. The UN Security Council has demanded humanitarian access to the Palestinian refugee camp of Yarmouk in Damascus. The UN described the situation for the 18,000 refugees there as beyond inhumane. The situation has deteriorated since the 1st of April when Islamic State launched an offensive. Palestinian militiamen opposed to the Syrian government and some Free Syrian Army fighters are leading the fight against the Islamic State militants. An explosion ripped through a chemical plant in southeastern China's Fujian province on Monday night, sparking a major fire. State news agency Xinhua reported 1 injury. The plant produces paraxylene, or a flammable chemical used in polyester and plastics manufacturing. The location of PX plants in China has sparked protests from residents. Many residents fear pollution from the plants is hazardous to health. Islamist rebel fighters have released some 300 Kurdish men taken captive and held for hours in northwest Syria. Reports say that the men were seized from buses traveling from the town of Afrin to the city of Aleppo. Officials from the Kurdish Democratic Union Party (PYD) have blamed Jaish al-Islam, Army of Islam, for the kidnapping. The Kurdish hostages were released in an alleged prisoner exchange. A 6-day-old blaze in 6 fuel tanks in Port Santos has finally been put out. Firefighters had said there was little that they could do to extinguish the flames before most of the fuel was consumed. Instead, they focused their efforts on dousing nearby tanks to keep the fire from spreading. At least 5 billion litres of seawater was used in the attempt to extinguish the flames. The water is returned to the sea with significant contamination, which has caused the death of millions of fish. Let's now get you all the sports action from around the world in our Sports Beat. Indian Grandmaster Harika has won the bronze medal at World Women's Chess Championship by virtue of making it to the semi-finals. Harika lost to the eventual winner Maria Mazurchuk of Ukraine in the semi-finals. The last four finish guarantees Harika a place in the Women's Grand Prix for the next World Championship cycle. India conceded a late goal to lose to New Zealand 2-1 in their second match in the Sultan Azlan Shah Cup. The Kiwis took the lead through their skipper Simon Child in the third quarter of the match. India equalized moments later through Akash Deep, but the Kiwis scored another in the dying minutes of the match to score their second win in the tournament. India will next play Malaysia on Wednesday. The 8th edition of the Indian Premier League will kickstart with the inaugural ceremony at Salt Lake Stadium in Kolkata today. The opening ceremony will feature top Bollywood stars and will include a special segment dedicated to defending champions Kolkata Knight Riders. The first match of the 47-day tournament will be played between Kolkata Knight Riders and Mumbai Indians on Wednesday. Manchester City's hopes of retaining their title suffered another huge blow with a 2-1 defeat to Crystal Palace. Palace took a 2-0 lead through Glenn Murray and Jason Puncheon before Yaya Toure got a goal back in the 78th minute. But the defending champions failed to find an equaliser as they slumped to their fourth successive away defeat. City are now fourth in the table, 9 points adrift of leaders Chelsea. The Turkish Football Federation announced on Monday that the country's Super League and Domestic Cup matches will be suspended for 1 week after the Fenerbahce team bus was shot at by a gunman on Saturday. Fenerbahce were travelling to Trabzon airport when the shooting happened. No players were injured in the attack. And finally, it's the official World Health Day today, and the theme this year is food safety. The WHO aims to catalyze collective government and public action to put measures in place that will improve safety of food from farm to plate. In India, of course, food safety has direct linkages to the Prime Minister's Swachh Bharat initiative towards reducing the socio-economic impact of foodborne illnesses. We're going to leave you today with some thought-provoking images. Have a great day.